There is a specific quiet that exists only in the space between people. It is not the silence of solitude, but the silence of retreat. For some, the world is not a place of connection, but a landscape of thresholds they dare not cross. They are the ones standing at the edge of the room, the ones who leave before the conversation ends. To understand them, we must look not at the walls they build, but at the tenderness they are trying to protect. It begins as a hum, a low vibration under the skin that only they can hear. In a room full of voices, they are the ones counting the seconds until it is acceptable to leave. Not because they are angry, not because they are rude, but because the air itself feels heavy, thick with the unspoken expectations of others. Every laugh requires a response. Every question demands a piece of them, and piece by piece, they feel themselves dissolving into the space between people. For the one who avoids socializing is not a recharge. It is an expenditure. A slow leak of a battery that was never full to begin with. They watch others move effortlessly through conversations, trading words like currency, and they wonder what it must feel like to be so weightless. To not feel the gravity of every glance, to not carry the mood of the room on their shoulders. The truth is, they do not hate people. They are simply exhausted by them. And the deepest exhaustion comes not from the noise, but from the constant, quiet effort of pretending they are not. Long before they learn to avoid, they learn to watch. As children, they became students of the adults around them, studying the shifts in tone, the slight changes in posture that signaled danger or withdrawal. In homes where love was unpredictable, where affection had to be earned or was given only in silence, a child learns quickly. The safest person to trust is yourself. They were the ones who sat in corners at family gatherings, not because they were shy, but because they were processing. Reading the room, not for opportunity, but for safety. They learned that to need someone was to risk disappointment. To reach out was to risk being left hanging in the air. So they built a world inside themselves, a place where no one could enter uninvited. A place where rejection did not exist because no request was ever made. This was not a choice made consciously. It was a survival instinct, etched quietly into the nervous system. The body learned to brace before the door even opened. And years later, long after the danger has passed, the body still remembers. People are something you prepare for. The body of an avoider listens differently. Neuroscience offers a quiet explanation. For some, the nervous system is not merely a regulator, but an antenna. Research into sensory processing sensitivity reveals that roughly 20% of the population possesses a heightened biological sensitivity to stimulation. Their mirror neurons fire more intensely, absorb the emotions of others, not as empathy, but as osmosis. When they walk into a crowded room, their brain does not filter the laughter, the music, the conflicting conversations into background noise. It processes each layer distinctly. Every voice is a story. Every expression is a demand. The amygdala, that ancient sentinel of safety, remains slightly more alert, scanning for social threat even when none exists. Cortisol rises. Dopamine depletes. Where an extrovert's brain rewards social interaction with chemical pleasure, the avoider's system often responds with a quiet alarm. Too much, too close, too long. It is not a phobia of people, but a physiological reality. Their battery drains faster because their receiver is always on. And so they retreat, not from connection, but from the sheer volume of a world that was not designed for ears like theirs. But here is the secret they carry alone. They want to stay. In the moments before they leave a gathering, something inside them hesitates. A flicker of longing. It's a quiet voice wondering what it would feel like to belong to the laughter, to let the conversation hold them instead of drain them. They are not running from people. They are running from the version of themselves that disappears when too many eyes are watching. This is the inner conflict that never rests. On one side, a hunger for connection, real, deep, unhurried. The kind of connection that does not require performance. The kind that sees them, truly sees them, and does not ask them to be louder. On the other side, a fear so familiar it feels like instinct. The fear of being consumed, of losing the quiet center they have spent a lifetime protecting. So they stand at the edge of every relationship, one foot already turned towards the door. They test people without meaning to, waiting to see who will notice when they withdraw, waiting to see who will follow. And when no one does, when the world continues spinning without them, they feel both relieved and devastated. The fear was justified, but so was the hope. And that hope, small and stubborn, is the wound that will not heal. The shift does not arrive as a thunderstorm. It arrives as a crack of light beneath a door left slightly open. It happens in moments of solitude, when the weight of self-judgment finally softens. They are sitting alone, perhaps on a quiet evening, perhaps in the early hours before the world wakes. And for the first time, they do not ask themselves, "Why can't I be normal?" Instead, a gentler question rises. What have I been protecting? The answer comes not as a thought, but as a remembering. They remember the child who learned to be quiet because being loud was unsafe. The teenager who stayed in their room because it was the only place they could breathe. The adult who said no to invitations, not because they didn't want connection, but because they didn't know how to trust it. In this moment, the story shifts. What once felt like a flaw, this tendency to retreat, begins to reveal itself as intelligence. A wisdom the body carried when the mind could not yet understand. They were not broken. They were adaptive. They were not antisocial. They were self-protective in a world that had not yet proven itself safe. The turning point is not the moment they decide to change. It is the moment they stop punishing themselves for surviving. Healing does not look like transformation. It looks like negotiation. The avoider does not suddenly become the person who stays until the end of the party. They do not wake up craving crowds or seeking small talk. What changes is something quieter, the relationship they have with their own boundaries. They begin to experiment with presence. Perhaps they stay for one conversation instead of fleeing before it starts. Perhaps they attend the gathering but leave early, and instead of shame, they offer themselves gratitude for the time they gave. They learn that connection is not all or nothing. It can be measured in moments, in glimpses, in the brief warmth of eye contact with someone who also seems to be standing at the edge of the room. They begin to choose people who do not require performance. Those rare souls who can sit in silence without filling it, who do not interpret quiet as coldness. With these people, the avoider discovers something unexpected, connection that does not drain, connection that replenishes. Slowly, the walls do not come down. They develop doors. Doors they can open when they choose. Doors they can close without guilt. The avoider learns that protection and isolation are not the same thing. And for the first time, they step towards the world, not because the world has changed, but because they no longer fear being swallowed by it. In the end, they are not cured. They are not converted. They remain who they have always been, the ones who notice the flicker of a candle when others see only the flame, the ones who hear the silence between words, the ones for whom depth is not a choice but a language. The world will continue to spin loudly. It will reward the quick talkers, the effortless minglers, the ones who fill every pause. And the avoider will watch from their quiet corner, not with envy, but with the quiet knowing that they belong to a different rhythm. They have learned, finally, that to avoid people is not to reject them. It is to love them from a distance that feels safe. It is to hold space for the possibility of connection without demanding it arrive on anyone's schedule but its own. Perhaps they are not avoiding people at all. Perhaps they are waiting, patiently, tenderly, for the right ones to find them in the quiet. And when those ones come, they will not need to perform. They will not need to stay too long. They will simply sit together in the hush. Two souls who understand that the deepest conversations are often the ones spoken without words. In the silence, they are finally home. If this video found you at the right moment, please help the algorithm connect more like-minded spirits. In the comments, tell us, where are you watching from? Let's paint a map of this community, one city at a time. Like, share, and subscribe to PsychePaint.